In today's Final Touch, a holiday tradition is honoring a religious and architectural masterpiece.
Check this out. Lisa Stiff display at a church in Weston, Missouri. It's 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, 7 feet tall, and weighs more than 600 pounds. Lisa says she decided to rebuild the cathedral after a fire damaged much of the building this spring.
That is a masterpiece.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
You're halfway through your first week.
Halfway, absolutely.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Here comes the full moon tonight. The moon is rising. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.
Right now at 5, News 3 Now investigates after discovering new details about the Madison teen suspected of firing a BB gun at his classmates.
Following the deadly officer-involved shooting yesterday in Beloit, we're looking at how and when law enforcement is trained to use deadly force.
Plus, an investigation is underway after threats to students at Middleton schools on social media, what one student is telling us.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
And thanks for staying with us. As we first reported an hour ago, a student accused of shooting another student with a BB gun at Jefferson Middle School had previously threatened to shoot up the school.
The incident allegedly happened in September. Our Keely Arthur obtained the documents to confirm this and has been asking district officials what they're doing to keep the school safe. Keely.
That's correct. A district employee shared these documents with us to highlight concerns over how the district has handled these incidents and because they are worried about the safety of staff and students at Jefferson Middle School. The Jefferson student was written up 25 times this school year prior to being suspended in December for the BB gun incident. The more than 24 cases range from leaving class without permission to using physical force against a staff member. One of the most severe accusations occurred on September 20th when the student yelled at a teacher that he, quote, hated school and he wanted to shoot it up and kill everyone in the school. The student was reprimanded by an administrator, and the teacher involved said, quote, his language felt like attention-seeking behavior rather than actual threats. The student was involved in 17 other incidents after that prior to the December 3rd incident where he shot a BB gun hitting fellow students. In an email to parents regarding that incident, Principal Tequila Kurth told parents, quote, at this time, we do not have any reason to believe the student intended to harm anyone with the BB gun. The student is suspended as a result of that incident and facing criminal charges in juvenile court. The district has declined to answer questions on how it handled the student's actions or explain any safety measures put in place. They have told us that they're going to send us a statement, but they have yet to do so.
All right, story we will continue to cover. Keely, thank you so much. 6 people are arrested in connection with a sex trafficking case in Green Lake County. Law enforcement officials say they received a 911 call last month about a juvenile on the run. Officers say she had escaped from a residence where she was being sex trafficked. Police executed a search warrant in Manchester, Wisconsin. That warrant also led to the arrest of 6 people who all lived in the home. Police believe all of the suspects are undocumented immigrants from Guatemala. The suspects are being held on cash bonds varying from $20,000 to $50,000. The state of Wisconsin is investigating an officer-involved shooting that took place yesterday in Rock County. 3
police officers used deadly force after they say they were confronted by an armed suspect who had stolen a car. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter has spent the day today learning more about officer training and what goes into the decision to use deadly force. Adam.
Yeah, Eric and Susan, today I wanted to learn more about how officers in Wisconsin approach dangerous situations like the one yesterday. I learned this is a question and conversation that goes bigger than Beloit and even bigger than the state as a whole. The Department of Justice is continuing to review the actions that led up to yesterday's officer-involved shooting in the city of Beloit. Police say the victim, whose name has not yet been released, had a gun and posed a threat, forcing officers to act.
3 Beloit officers fired at the suspect, who received fatal injuries. The suspect was pronounced deceased at 12:25 p.m.
But where does this instinct come from? And how does an officer know when to act? It turns out that's the result of 720 hours of training.
The Department of Justice, the Law Enforcement Standards Board, and all of the law enforcement academies across the state take great lengths and great strides at preparing officers to face these encounters.
Ron Bentley helps to administer a portion of this training. And while he can't comment directly about yesterday's incident, he says for officers, all the training that's received helps to prepare mentally for any kind of situation.
Law enforcement officers deal with incidents from very low, very boring encounters all the way up to and including very stressful, dangerous, deadly force decision-making.
He says even an officer's presence is using force, but from there it escalates to verbal confrontation, control alternatives, and if it has to, even further.
Anytime an officer has a reasonable expectation that a deadly force encounter may present itself, it may be a time when drawing a gun out of a holster would be justified.
Now, it's not clear how long the investigation into yesterday's events will take or what results it could provide. And we'll continue to update our viewers as more information becomes available.
All right, Adam, thank you. Another cold day today, but clear outside, and a little bit of a warm-up is on the way. Gary Canalti is here watching the forecast. Gary?
Well, Susan, as clouds move in, that'll keep our temperatures from falling off too rapidly tonight, and they'll actually start to climb later on. You can see the sunny skies that we had, the snow on the ground to our south and also to our north, but not much over southern Wisconsin. But as the clouds move in, those temperatures will start climbing overnight. There's a little bit of light snow already starting to show up across parts of central Minnesota, heading toward northwestern Wisconsin, but we'll see our better chances for snow about midday tomorrow. Temperatures right now are in the middle to upper teens through much of southern Wisconsin. A few places farther to the north over the snow cover are in the single digits. But over the next 12 hours, notice temperatures bottoming out around 12, around 8 p.m., and then climbing overnight. So by tomorrow morning, we'll be in the 20s and look for highs tomorrow in the mid-30s. We could see some light snow accumulations. I'll tell you how much to expect in a few minutes.
Gary, thank you. The Middleton Cross Plains Area School District is working with police to investigate reports of threats to students on social media.
Those threats are the reason the district's 2 high schools were closed today. Our Madeline O'Neill is here to tell us how one student is feeling about that tonight. Maddie?
Well, Susan and Eric, the district is calling the threats serious and specific to high school students. It made the decision to close Middleton High School and Clark Street Community School last night, notifying families then. The district says the alleged threat was made on Instagram. Threats also led to students postponing an organized rally this morning, asking the district to do more to help sexual assault survivors. Senior Ace Buchholz says she's angry and disappointed and that the threat will put some of her classmates on edge.
It is quite upsetting because it felt like we actually were taking a step to changing things, or at least getting people to notice things. And then this whole debacle happened and it's now postponed.
Police say they are investigating a possible connection between the threats and this morning's planned protest, but nothing is confirmed. Elementary and middle schools in Middleton were open today, but with an increased police presence and no outdoor recess. The school district is holding a press conference at 5:30 today in just about a half hour. We'll live stream that on channel3000.com as well as Facebook and have an update at 6 too.
All right, Madeline, thank you.
Yeah.
14-year-old student was arrested after school officials found a pellet gun in his backpack on Madison East High School grounds. Madison police say the student says someone had given him that pellet gun in the morning. Police say the student was cooperative and respectful, but also shaking.
An investigation is underway after Madison police say more than a dozen gunshots were fired at a home. It happened late last night along Allied Drive. Officers found 13 bullet casings from at least 2 different guns in a nearby terrace area and on the back patio of a home. Police say around 10 of those bullets hit the home or broke through windows, spraying glass. A 42-year-old woman was hurt by the flying glass, and a 22-year-old man and a 9-year-old boy were also in the home at the time. Police believe the home was targeted and the suspects are still at large. 2
Republican Wisconsin lawmakers are putting forth a plan to legalize medical marijuana in this state. It is the first time now that a plan has come forth from Republicans. Democrats put out a plan on medical marijuana earlier this year. That has the governor's approval. They say their plan gives patients more choices, but they are happy Republican Mary Felskowski's proposal at least keeps the conversation going.
We're introducing this bill. I know that we don't have full support for it in both houses, but I would like to get a committee hearing on it just so we can start the conversation.
I don't think it's nearly as good as the legislation that we have put forward. a couple of months ago, but it's good in the fact that we are talking about this, and hopefully out of the talk comes a bill, again, more closer to what we proposed, that does become law here in Wisconsin.
And Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald says he opposes the measure, doesn't think it'll pass the Senate. He's even talking about the Republican plan there. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos says Republicans cannot come to a consensus on the Republican bill.
The WIAA is expressing its support of a sponsored bill in the legislature that would make it a Class A misdemeanor to harass or intimidate a sports official. The bill proposes a possible penalty of up to 40 hours of community service work, as well as any other penalties associated with the crime. There are 24 states that currently have assault legislation, civil statutes, or supportive resolutions that protect sports officials. The bill could help with the shortage of referees around the state, and it has bipartisan support.
If you're one of the millions of people shipping gifts to loved ones and friends, you'll want to ship those gifts out soon. This time of the year, always busy for FedEx, UPS, and the Postal Service, but this year that rings true even more because the shopping season is actually 6 days shorter. The deadlines to ship are rapidly approaching for USPS and the UPS. Now, you want to make sure your cards and gifts are in the mail by the end of this week. For FedEx, the deadline is the beginning of next week, but there is hope for the ultimate procrastinator.
If you mail Priority Mail Express on the 23rd, we'll guarantee that it gets there by the 25th.
Who's going to pay a lot for it?
You'll pay more for it, but I'm sure the people that you're sending it to are worth it.
Keep in mind the Postal Service's busiest time of the year is the 2 weeks before Christmas. Know that you can print off a shipping label at home and have the package picked up right at home, but you do still need to stick to those deadlines.
Santa Claus took a break from the North Pole today to help spread some joy to the kids at the American Family Children's Hospital in Madison. Santa arrived at the hospital on a fire truck and gave out gifts for the kids. Madison firefighters Local 311 donated money to buy presents for each child.
It's great to see their faces light up when Santa Claus comes in, and he also visits a lot of the rooms. So I know in a tough time for all these kids, it brings them some joy, and they get to see Santa.
Oh, Santa has visited the Children's Hospital for the last 59 years.
SSM Health St. Mary's has released its top list of baby names for the Madison area in 2019. For boys, the top 5 names were Owen, James, Isaac, Henry, and Oliver. For the girls, Grace, Emma, Charlotte, Evelyn, and Ivy were the top 5 most popular names. From December 2018 through November 30th, 2019, providers at St. Mary's have delivered 2,052 babies. That includes 51 sets of twins. May saw the most deliveries with 207 babies arriving during that month. More to come on News 3 Now at 5. The House Judiciary Committee will be debating articles of impeachment late into the night. We'll have the very latest.
And coming up tonight at 6, why a Madison school board member is opposed to the district purchasing a building for students with special needs. We'll have that story at 6.
And on Wall Street, midweek trading sees a 30-point jump for the Dow. The NASDAQ adds 38. The S&P 500 up 9. And we'll be right back. The House Judiciary Committee will meet tonight to start debating on the articles of impeachment against the president.
The first article of impeachment alleges President Trump openly and corruptly urged Ukraine to publicly announce investigations into his political opponent, former Vice President Joe Biden. The second article of impeachment accuses the president of directing the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of the House investigation.
We want to keep the focus and will keep the focus on the extraordinary abuse of power that Donald Trump has engaged in.
The House Democrats announced these two flimsy, pathetic, ridiculous articles of impeachment.
Tonight's debate is expected to last several hours and continue into tomorrow. Once the committee votes, that puts the House on pace for a floor vote next week. If the articles pass in the House, the Republican-controlled Senate is expected to hold a trial in early January. We're learning more about what happened at a New Jersey shooting. After reviewing surveillance video, Jersey city officials now say two shooters, 47-year-old David Anderson and 50-year-old Francine Graham, targeted a Jewish kosher deli yesterday afternoon. Police say the shooting began at a cemetery before shifting to the deli. When it was over, Jersey City Detective Joseph Seals, 3 bystanders, and the suspects were killed. 2 wounded officers are expected to recover. Investigators are not commenting on the motive, but the New York Times is reporting that one of the suspects posted anti-Semitic and anti-police comments online.
Family of a toddler who fell to her death on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship back in July is suing the company. 18-month-old Chloe Wygand died in July when she fell 11 stories to her death on the Freedom of the Seas cruise ship when it was docked in Puerto Rico. Her grandfather had just lifted her to what he thought was a closed window when she slipped from his grasp. Puerto Rican authorities charged 51-year-old Salvatore Anello with 1 misdemeanor count of negligent homicide. The family is asking for unspecified damages. In a statement, Royal Caribbean said, quote, "We have no comment on the civil filing."
It was a cold day today, but no snow on the ground here in the Madison area. Gary's watching the forecast. Gary?
That may change a little bit for tomorrow. We may see a quick burst of snow midday that could bring an inch or 2 of accumulation from Madison northward. But the current snow depth shows no snow on the ground from Madison southward, but the amounts increase pretty rapidly once you get to the north. About a half a foot on the ground through central Wisconsin, about a foot from Wausau and Rhinelander northward towards Superior, and about 2 feet or more of snow on the ground from Ashland into the Keweenaw Peninsula of upper Michigan. And you can see the effect it had on the low temperatures last night. Over that thick snow cover, temperatures are between 10 and 20 below zero in northern Wisconsin, while we were cold, but not nearly as cold, with temperatures staying above zero. Now, as we take a look at Doppler tracks, some light snow moving into northern Minnesota. This will mainly stay to the north of us, but our better chances for snow will come about noon tomorrow. In fact, we could be looking at a 1 to 2 inch snowfall, mainly from north of Madison, maybe as much as 3 inches north of the Dells, and then 3 to 6 inches into central and northern Wisconsin. They'll just continue to add to their snowpack. South of Madison, probably not much of anything in the way of snow accumulation, just a mix of rain and snow. So light snow expected for tomorrow, mainly midday, and then by late afternoon it'll be gone. On Friday, look for quiet weather, cloudy conditions, maybe a little bit of drizzle, and then we'll turn colder on the weekend with a chance for light snow on Saturday, but temperatures will start dropping, and Sunday's high temperatures will only be in the lower 20s. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Skies are clear right now, but that will change as clouds move in. High today only made it up to 18 after starting out at that 6-degree low temperature. Right now we're at 17 degrees with mostly clear skies. The air is calm, so no wind chill to speak of. But you can see while temperatures are in the teens here, they're in the single digits to the west, and they'll actually start rising as milder winds come in out of the south and southeast later on tonight. In fact, across the country, the jet stream now more in a west to east pattern, so we're not getting that burst of cold air out of central Canada into our part of the Midwest. We're going to see milder Pacific air moving eastward, and that has a chance to be a little bit milder with temperatures back into the 30s for the next couple of days. This high pressure system located very close to us will move off to the east. Notice the clouds and the winds out of the southeast to the east of that high, and a warm front farther to the west. Temperatures are cold here, but on the other side of that warm front, they're mainly in the 30s and 40s. And as we take a look at future track, you can see the clouds moving in overnight. The chance for snow midday tomorrow, but it'll move through pretty quickly. And then after that, we'll notice the winds more out of the south and southwest. And that'll keep temperatures in the 30s for not only tomorrow, but for Friday as well, before another shot of colder air behind this storm system starts swinging in for Saturday, and that will cool our temperatures back down into the 20s by Sunday. So for tonight, look for clear skies early to turn mostly cloudy overnight, low temperature dropping to 12, then temperatures steady or rising from late evening on. For tomorrow, look for a mostly cloudy day. You can see a burst of snow about midday, high temperature of 37, south-southwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour, and maybe an inch or two of accumulation north of Madison. On future track, the clouds move in pretty quickly tonight as temperatures climb through the teens and into the low 20s. That burst of snow midday tomorrow. By late afternoon, it's pretty much gone with highs in the upper 30s. Tomorrow night, cloudy skies, some flurries, maybe a little patchy freezing drizzle, low in the upper 20s. And then on Friday, look for high temperatures eventually topping out in the middle 30s. Just a pretty quiet day overall. Snow amounts, again, maybe an inch or two north of Madison, as much as 3 inches well north of the Dells. 7 to 10 day forecast. That cold snap moves in later on the weekend. By early next week, though, those temperatures start to rise toward the end of next week with some flurry or freezing drizzle chances about Thursday or Friday. As we take a look at first alert traffic right now, the Beltline looking pretty slow in both directions. That's the view of Park Street and the Beltline. Right now, we're seeing delays on the eastbound Beltline from Monona Drive to back west of Verona Road. Westbound, we're seeing delays start around Fish Hatchery Road, going back almost to Monona Drive. So as far as travel times are concerned, 24 minutes on the eastbound Beltline from University Avenue to the interstate, 22 minutes going back in the westbound direction. Heading out of Madison, 25 minutes to Janesville on I-3990 from the Beltline southward. A quick 16 minutes to Sauk City on US 12 and 17 minutes to Sun Prairie on US 151. That's your News 3 Now First Alert traffic.
Thank you, Gary.
Still ahead on News 3 Now at 5. Time has announced its Persons of the Year. We'll tell you who's receiving the high honors after a short break. Time magazine has released its Persons of the Year issue this morning.
16-year-old Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg has been named Person of the Year. The magazine says this was the year the climate crisis went from behind the curtain to center stage, and no one did more to make that happen than Thunberg. It's her blunt talk that has turned her into a global sensation in a little more than a year. In August, she crossed the Atlantic in a zero-carbon emissions boat to participate in the United Nations Climate Summit, and she slammed world leaders for not doing enough. Thunberg says she was very surprised to be named Time's Person of the Year.
As I said before, I should not be the one to be Person of the Year. It should be everyone in the Fridays for Future movement, because what we have done together.
This is the first time the magazine has chosen an individual teenager as Person of the Year. Before Thunberg, the youngest person honored as an individual was 25-year-old Charles Lindbergh, selected as the most influential man of 1927. Lindbergh was also the first person of the year in Time's history. Other Persons of the Year this year include Bob Iger. The CEO for Disney is Time's Business Person of the Year. The U.S. Women's national soccer team, who inspired millions with their play on the field and captured the 2019 World Cup Championship, is the 2019 Athletes of the Year. And Lizzo, who describes her music as church with a twerk, is the Performer of the Year. She was nominated for 8 Grammys and continues to send a message of positivity to her fans across the world.
And the nominees for the 26th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards are in, leading the pack with 4 nominees each. The Quentin Tarantino-directed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Bombshell, which is based upon several women at Fox News who set out to expose CEO Roger Ailes for sexual harassment, and the Netflix take on divorce with an all-star cast, Marriage Story. Amazon Prime's Period series set in the 1950s New York, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, is the most nominated television series, along with 4 nods there. The SAG Awards telecast airs on TNT and TBS. It'll be Sunday, January 19th at 7 p.m. We'll have another Check Your Forecast in just a moment. Stay with us.
For a clear, easy to understand forecast, watch First Alert Weather.
Look outside, you can see the full moon coming up.
Yeah, but it's not going to last long because the clouds are moving in pretty quickly from the west. Temperatures right now are in the teens, and they'll probably fall a few more degrees before they start climbing. Tomorrow, we'll see a milder day with high temperatures in the mid to upper 30s, but there could be some light snow accumulation, especially north of Madison. South of Madison, just a mix of rain and snow, no accumulation expected. Highs back in the mid to upper 30s for tomorrow and Friday. Low 30s and falling temperatures on Saturday. Cold for the start of next week, and then back to normal toward the end of next week.
All right, more updates in 30 minutes on News 3 Now at 6. Stay tuned now for the CBS Evening News.